What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope you all are having a great Sunday afternoon. In this video, we're going to talk about why everybody keeps thinking it's going to snow next weekend or next week or whatever you're hearing. People are even declaring it, basically saying it's supposed to snow next weekend. Well, I'm starting to hear that a lot. I've heard it at work. I've heard it at church. People are asking me. I actually heard it about 5 or 6 times at church a day between several different people just asking me, hey, Mitch, is it supposed to snow next weekend? Not this weekend, obviously, but next weekend. And it's all because of basically it stems off two things. It's stemming off people's weather apps, whether it's the Weather Channel app, whether it's your default iPhone or Android weather app. I think a lot of people are looking at these 10-day forecasts and they're seeing a snowflake at any particular day. Well, there's reasons why that keeps showing up, and if you're watching local meteorologists, they're telling you that the pattern coming up could potentially, be a favor for wintry weather. Well, it's like a delayed response to the public, because the public, they'll hear something that was talked about 2 days ago when maybe the models looked better for winter weather, but then it won't get to somehow a public person, whether that's something being shared off social media, until maybe two or 3 days later. So then, in fact, when in the present time, the models aren't showing what they were showing 2 or 3 days ago. But so we're going to talk about why your weather apps on your phone or whatever, why they keep showing snowflakes 9-10 days out. And guys, let me tell you, in the southeast in the winter, we cannot predict weather in general 9 to 10 days out. We can try, and we have 10-day forecasts out there, but it's just there to kind of maybe give you an idea of what's coming. It's not something you need to look at and say, oh wow, yeah, it's going to snow 9 days from now. We cannot predict something like that this far out. Maybe 100 years from now, when things are better, maybe we can do it then. But right now, you cannot predict winter weather 9 to 10 days out, really anywhere in the country. Unless you're in the mountains, maybe in the Colorado mountains or something like that. But this is why, say, Wednesday and Thursday, these rumors of snow really began flying around. And the reason why is because around Wednesday and Thursday, on the European and the GFS, and on the ensembles, they were showing some crazy model runs. This is for actually the 12Z run on Wednesday, I believe. So, and check out the day. This is Friday, February 12th, so this is this coming Friday. It was showing this crazy winter storm for this coming weekend. So we're at Sunday, we're ending this weekend for this next coming weekend, the 13th. It was starting to pop off this crazy scenario, but look how far it is. It's 200 and something hours out. Now, people like me who are weather enthusiasts, we do mistakenly get too excited. We maybe relay a wrong message. I don't feel like I've done that in any of my videos. I've always done a great job talking about how, hey, this is just an operational this is just guidance, just one model run. But there's a lot of things that get shared on social media, like images like this, and then people see them that just don't know a lot about the weather, and they take in that information, and it spreads like a wildfire. Well, check out this model run. This is showing an historic winter storm, and this is just one model run last Wednesday. And then the next run, so Wednesday evening, it turned around and showed it again. Another awesome winter storm. So there was a lot of excitement going around in the weather community, because it was showing these historic winter storms all day Wednesday into Wednesday night into Thursday. And look at it was showing, you started seeing images like this flying around. This is just one operational GFS run. And so it was showing 1.5 feet, almost 2 feet of snow in South Carolina, a bunch of ice, a bunch of snow. The next run was the same thing, showed, just an insane amount of snow. And it excited a lot of people. And in this day and age, what happens is, I don't know what model they use, but your default weather apps, they see things like this, and they'll, for whatever reason, take one model run, and I don't know how it works. I don't think a lot of people do. But even the Weather Channel app, which which is supposed to be a reliable source, the Weather Channel. It's been around for decades. It'll update. So obviously it was showing this events 10 days out on your Weather Channel app. Well, in the Weather Channel app, for example, it shows a 15-day forecast, which is ridiculous. I think the most you really should have is a 7-day forecast. So it started popping off winter weather icons, snowflake icons on everybody's Weather Channel apps, everybody's default iPhone apps for this coming weekend. For this weekend. So it was basically stemming off these crazy model runs. Well, basically it wasn't just the GFS. This was the European run for basically the OOZ run, which was the overnight Euro run from Wednesday into Thursday. Even the European model was showing these crazy scenarios, but guess what? It was still 240 hours out, so it was showing it for somewhere around next Saturday, around the 13th and the 14th. It was showing a winter weather threat for this coming weekend, just in general. And it was really excited about it, but it was so far out. But a lot of people were getting a little bit premature excited. Even I'll admit, I was like, well, dang, this is looking good. There's a threat consistently showing up. And then again, it changed, and we're still changed, guys. So basically, this is affecting your little apps that you have on your phone, whether it's the Weather Channel app, whether it's a default. For some reason, people really look at their default iPhone apps. It's wild, guys. Do not look at those apps, especially those. They're not quite as bad as the Weather Channel app, but the default iPhone apps, they are just. I actually have a video talking about how you should delete it from probably almost a year ago, but they are awful. In fact, sometimes them default iPhone apps will show snowflakes and say that they're calling for snow when no model's showing it at all. So sometimes it shows it when nothing's even showing it. So it spreads. So sometimes the system works against itself, meaning whoever's operating this, whatever computer's operating this and causing it to change, it's relaying the wrong message, and I don't know who's controlling that, to be honest. But the number one rule here, you got to have cold air in place deep in the south. Now, you can get some things that can work. Sometimes you get some cold air chasing moisture events that can really work in Tennessee, maybe upper areas of North Carolina, Virginia. Once you get west of the Appalachian Mountains, sometimes in Arkansas, basically the further west you get, the more chances of basically a cold air chasing moisture event can work out. But once you get east of the Appalachian Mountains, the mountains really delay cold air chasing events. So, meaning rain turning to snow events. You don't see that a lot. But basically, you need cold air in place in the southeast, deep in the south, especially where I live in Columbia, South Carolina. You got to have cold air in place. So the big thing that's driving our potential pattern for favorable winter weather is when is this cold air going to come? Well, the problem is it keeps getting delayed. So this is temp anomalies. This is temperatures compared to average. You got warmer than average temperatures in the southeast right here, and this is now Friday. It finally, like, really, it takes all the way until the end of next weekend until the front kind of starts to bleed east a little bit, and you get below average temperatures. But honestly, it just keeps backing up. This is honestly, 9 days away, and it finally gets well below average temperatures. So all we know right now, all that we're confident in right now in the entire lower 48 is that cold air is going to dump down, but it looks like it's all going to be positioned west. It's going to dump down like into Texas. It's fighting. The models cannot figure out if it's ever going to, and this is the GFS ensembles, by the way, the GEFS. The models just cannot figure out if it's going to ever move. I tell you what, by each day, I think more and more that the Arctic air is just not going to ever make it. And I could be completely wrong. Or by the time it does make it, it's not as strong as it once was. But we just don't know. But I tell you what, we need some kind of well below average temperatures. We need cold air in place. And then once we get the cold air in place, you get magic working. So you got plenty of energy flying around. And I'm going to show you this. This is just a GFS operational run. You got plenty of energy. Here comes the storm system. Here comes the cold front. This Arctic front is right here. So you got that. Moisture rides along that. You get some kind of low pressure that forms, and then the Arctic air dives down a little bit more. And check it out. You got ice breaking down almost all the way into Houston. I tell you what, if anybody has more of a winter weather threat, and we might end up talking about this in the coming days, it's in the western southeast or western south, if that's even a thing. Texas, deep into Texas, maybe Louisiana, maybe parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, maybe areas of western Tennessee. This is where we kind of are starting to think, and this is a big time high pressure at 1052. That is just cold air, cold Arctic air. We're starting to get more confidence that this cold air is going to dump out west well before it gets to the east. So you're going to have some kind of Arctic frontal boundary setting up. So what happens here is, yeah, you get some kind of system that pops off right here, but it's still flexing right here. The southeast ridge, it cannot knock down this ridge because it basically, this piece of this polar vortex influencing this high, it's not wanting to push. So you get this low pressure, you get this crazy ice event showing up down here, and it even makes it into Alabama. And you have low pressure down here, sure, but it basically shoots through here, which is not a bad track. It's not a good track for areas like in middle Georgia and central South Carolina, but it's so close to the shore that you get a stout warm nose, and you don't have a great Arctic push trying to push this out the way. So this storm that has continued to show up for next weekend, it only works out for western areas of the southeast and western areas of the south. But here, it's sitting right here. The cold air is sitting right here. So you get all that energy that flies through. It shows daggone snow falling in the Gulf of Mexico because you have plenty of cold air down here. Well, here comes another system that flies through. But check it out. There's some Arctic air in place now. It's not, and the Arctic air isn't as stout as it was. You kind of got a weakening high pressure here, but it's still there, and you have some winter weather breaking out next Tuesday, 210 hours out. We got all the time in the world for that to trend even warmer. So when is the pattern going to be here? And you got, here comes more energy flying along the trough. If we can get this Arctic front to get here, and the front to kind of maybe drape down here, then you can get some low pressures to ride through here. You can get some low pressures to throw some moisture into this Arctic air. You don't want too big of a push because it'll suppress everything into the Gulf of Mexico and that way down here in Florida. But you need some cold air. We got to get the cold air first before we even talk about snow. So y'all can keep asking, and please don't take this as rude. But the answer is always going to be, I don't know. I can tell you about next weekend. Is the only place that I think has a chance for snow or ice is maybe out in Texas, maybe parts of Louisiana. But we're going to, even there, it's still flipping back and forth. And I think this is really looking like an overrunning ice event for somebody. And even when this pattern does get here, if it does, I think this is going to be a cold air damming setup where it's not going to be snowing in South Carolina or Georgia. It's probably going to be a big-time ice threat if we can even get the Arctic air here. So it's going to be a long week. Supposedly today was supposed to be when we thought the Arctic front was originally going to move through. Obviously, that changed several days back. But, we got to figure out this thing. And nobody knows. The professionals don't know. The smartest of smart people do not know what it's going to do, because it keeps flipping back and forth. The Arctic air keeps getting delayed. And I mentioned in many videos, when it keeps getting delayed, there's a higher than 50% chance, in my opinion, that it ends up getting denied. And that's only for us in the core of the Southeast. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, maybe parts of Alabama. Once you start to get into Mississippi, Louisiana, parts of Tennessee, that's starting to consider that the western areas of Southeast or the Mid-South. So we're going to figure out what's going to happen here in a few days. I've been saying Monday and Tuesday we would have a better knowledge of what's going to happen, but I'm starting to think it might be later in the week. So I'm going to keep y'all updated. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I do not think it's going to snow in the Southeast this coming weekend. I just don't. Something could drastically change, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But I can tell you one thing on this coming weekend is things have began to consistently show that Arctic air is just, cold air is just not going to be in place for that system this weekend for the southeast. But watching areas in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and maybe parts of Mississippi and Tennessee for sure. So y'all stay tuned. Thank y'all for watching, and y'all have a great Super Bowl Sunday.